Hello, everyone. This video is for business leaders who want to scale their success in virtually any area by asking more and better questions. The upshot is ask more questions. I guess that's obvious. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim B. Green, and this is Crush It Club episode 77. More questions equals more success. Now, an excellent book on this topic, I'll leave the information in the, actually what I'll do is I'll pin it, since this is going to be a YouTube video. I'll pin it into the YouTube video, and I will also share it in the description because you may see it on another platform. And I also have the identical video. This video is also on LinkedIn, so I will also share a link, either an overlay and or in the description of this video, so you can find that, and that refers to the book review that I did on a book called A More Beautiful Question, which is all about asking better questions. Not the specific topic here today, but tightly related to it. So if you follow that link, it will basically teach you about ways to skyrocket your ability to ask excellent questions, or as I put it here, your neurocognitive solution engine. If you ask better questions, it's almost inevitable that you can get better solutions from that ultimately. So here's really what it comes down to. With few exceptions, the great questions which are going to lead you to more success are WH questions, and that is, who, what, why, when, where, how, and which. Yes, how is not a WH question, but it's the same idea. Don't leave any of these out. In fact, the book I'm referring to, or I referred you to, refers to 3 of those 7, and I've already tested this, and all 7 are effective. The 3 that author talks about, can't remember the author's name right now, are great, but I would consider them a starting point, not the linchpin of how to ask great questions, because you can ask any great WH question as long as it's meaningful to what you're trying to accomplish, as long as it's pointing towards what we do, and that is that these questions aren't just random. You kind of have to have a let's call it a destination in mind, or a goal in mind. So if it's like, doubling my sales. How can I double my sales? Kind of seems obvious, but it isn't. Unless you have a trajectory or a destination, then the nature of your questions aren't going to lead towards the solutions you're looking for. So it's also really important that you're asking great questions. That is, questions that are meaningful, not, how old is your puppy? Is obviously a silly question. So the questions have to be relevant and great in that they're leading in the direction you want them to and make sense. So don't ask questions for the sake of asking questions. Ask questions with that destination or that end in mind, which will help lead you there or to some intermediate process goal before that, that is a step in that specific direction. So let me give you an example. I want to sort of paint a picture for you if I can. Imagine you are Elon Musk. So this is an example of the application of using questions, and it's based on his real words for an interview I saw on YouTube where he answered questions about job interviews. So imagine you were Elon Musk and you were looking for talented engineers or workers to work at Tesla or SpaceX or the Boring Company. So what might your destination be if you were Elon? What was his destination? Well, I've already answered that question in that he's looking for talented engineers or workers for one of his companies. So that's the destination in this case. So it could be, how can I find exceptionally talented engineers? For example, of a nice, specific, clear, concrete question. So Elon Musk actually, in this interview, gave these questions. These are sort of paraphrased, but very close to his word for word because I had to change the pronouns from they and them to you and your, that kind of thing. So Elon Musk hires basically by asking only 3 questions. So this may be further along in the interview process, but if you're talking to him, here's how he decides who has what he's looking for, which tends to be exceptional talent, regardless of or irrelevant to formal education. He's big on that. So he basically says, what are some of the tougher problems that you have dealt with? Obviously, it makes sense in your career, but he may ask you that about your personal life because he didn't go into that detail. But what challenging things have you dealt with? Or some of the most challenging things you've dealt with? So that's one of the 3 questions. The next question he would ask is, how did you deal with them? Pretty simple, pretty direct, but you notice we have a theme going here. These are all WH questions. And the last of his 3 questions that he asks is, how did you make your decisions at key transition points? So this would be throughout solution of that problem or throughout your life and career. How did you make decisions at those key points, those forks in the road? That's it. Now, this is a direct quote, and he basically goes, what I'm really looking for is evidence of exceptional ability. Continuing his quote, you can ask them very detailed questions about it. They will know the answers if they're truly responsible for the solution. So if you ask them a really detailed question about this resolution, this problem that was solved, and they don't know the details of how it was solved, then they're probably not the actual origin of the actual solution. And that's why he says you can ask those detailed questions. It's like asking somebody in an eyewitness case, tell us how it happened. You ask them to tell you all the details they can remember. Then you ask them to tell you that same story backwards. Only somebody, it's almost impossible for somebody to lie backwards in the sequence of a story if it's not true. So same kind of neurocognitive technique going on here. If you ask them detailed questions about that solution and they can't answer it, they were either less involved in that solution or they're maybe not being entirely truthful with you, because if they were the solver, of course they know those fine details that are very close to impossible to fabricate in the moment unless you're telling a real event that happened. So and then I guess finally that's it for this episode. And that is, I just want to ask you for one thing here, and that is, I would love to see something in the comments about this if you can, and that is, which WH questions do you ask most? That's it for Crush It Club, episode 77. More questions equal more solutions. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.